7 days for under $10 a day. There are 2 college football games Tuesday night, 4 NFL and 2 college football games on Thanksgiving, 16 college football games on Black Friday, plus a full Saturday and Sunday of college football and NFL action. Add in any NBA, college basketball, and NHL action, and it's an awesome week of sports. We are so very thankful that you are current or maybe a new client of WagerTalk, and we want to give you our best once-a-year price for a 7-day all-sport, all-access package. Enjoy the holiday with family and friends, and don't worry about missing plays throughout the week if you're traveling. That's right, only $69 for 7 full days of college football, NFL, NBA, college hoops, NHL, and any other plays your favorite capper releases. Happy Thanksgiving and safe travels for those hitting the road from our WagerTalk family to yours.
What's up, guys? Welcome back right here to WagerTalk TV, another episode of Puck Time. I'm Andrew McInnis. You have Carmine and Bianco with me and Brian Leonard alongside in this Wednesday episode. You know, last week Perez complains about not having enough games on his usual Wednesday and then flies out to Punta Cana and misses the most jam-packed Wednesday slate of the year in the NHL. Ironic how that stuff works. We're happy to have Brian Leonard with us, and lots of promo stuff to do as well. Just a reminder to all of you guys out there right now that deal you just saw is still active, $69 for a week of all sports action that applies to any handicapper at the website at wagertalk.com, where you can find both Brian, Carmine, and myself. I also want to mention that the $2 Tuesday plays, they apply to a game for tonight for both Carmine and myself. Those plays have remained at $2. You can still go grab them if you have not grabbed them just yet. And I mentioned this yesterday on a different show, but it's not just the play you're grabbing. You're also grabbing some great specials and promo codes inside the analysis of those plays for both Carm and myself. And how could I forget to mention as well that Mr. Brian Leonard has a 5% play up tonight. 14-3 career with NHL 5% releases. Number 2 in hockey profit last season and number 2 in hockey last 30 days. Have to mention that and shout out Brian a little bit. Make sure you guys grab his big play going tonight. Carmine, you continue to tear it up in soccer, man. I know it's a hockey show, but I have to tip my hat to you again for another big winner yesterday.
Yeah, Andrew stole my intro on Brian's streak and throwing it to him, but I'll have to clear that up with him after the show. Yes, no, I was pretty happy yesterday. A good day in Champions League. My friends here north of the border, who are fellow Juventus fans, were pretty upset at me for releasing or telling them that Chelsea was going to smash Juve, and they did 4-0 yesterday. So I was pretty happy about it. Listen. I take money over favoritism or cheering for any team. Money comes first at the end of the day. We put the fandom stuff aside, Andrew. You know that. But which is why we bet against. Yeah, it's why we bet against the Sabres and the Montreal Canadiens as much as we can. But with that said, yeah, listen, great to have Brian on here. We have a full slate of cards. We will touch quickly, maybe if we can get through this show quickly enough on the Seattle Kraken game, because we have a couple guys asking about it. One of them is going to the game tonight, so we'll see if we can squeeze that in quickly. But let's bring in Brian Leonard on, like you said, Andrew, 14-3 lifetime run, 5% plays, number 2 last year in NHL profits, and number 2 thus far through the last 30 days. NHL, Bri, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It should be a fun show. Full slate of games here. A lot of things to choose from. College basketball going on today. As we know, Thursday, tomorrow in the United States, it's Thanksgiving. So that 1 week deal is a huge deal out there. I think everybody should be joining in on that. That's a tremendous deal for anybody who's watching and wants to bet on sports.
Of course, it's one of those things where we always try and preach that why just buy one play, why just commit for one day, and it's nice to get a full sample size of a handicapper of your choice, and not just be involved for one day. And one of the sole purposes behind that is because even though it's a hockey show, I love promoting different stuff. Just like we talked about your college football the last time you were on this show. even though you're doing really well in NHL as well. Just like I like to talk about Carmine with his soccer, because people have to know about those big plays that are going off. So even though we talk hockey on Puck Time and on this show, all of you guys out there watching, you better believe we also wager on other sports as well. And I want people to get behind that. Like for me, to pat my own back here, nobody really knows me, Bri, as a UFC guy. I'm red hot with 4% UFC plays. It's been several months, I think, since I've lost one. Number one at WagerTalk in 4% UFC plays. I mean, we do other sports besides just hockey, and these 7-day passes will give people a chance to check us out with those other plays. So let's get the show going, though, guys. Today's games we're going to discuss: Philadelphia Flyers, Florida Panthers, Rangers, and the Islanders, which should be a good one, and the Leafs, the Kings, and the last but certainly not least, we have the Golden Knights and the Nashville Predators. I'm going to go to Carmine to kick things off for us with our first game, the Flyers and the Panthers. Not really too shocked here, Carm. We have Florida at home, big favorites. Philadelphia plus 195 on the road. What are your plays here in this one, Carm?
Yeah, you know what? I had to do sports grid last night, but I was watching the first period of the Tampa Philadelphia game while I was waiting to sort of do my segment, hoping to see a Philadelphia team show some life in that game. And I wanted them to play a good game just so I could come back and fade them today, because I told you I'm going to look at spots to fade Philadelphia, but I didn't think yesterday was one of them. They lost 4-0 in that game. They really didn't give Carter Hart played well. They just didn't give him any support. They couldn't solve Vasilevsky, and that's a tough thing to do on most nights if you're playing in Tampa. And now they've got to go back to back and play the Florida Panthers, who have won 3 games on this 4-game homestand. After that 4-game skid, I said this Florida team isn't a team that's going to go through long losing streaks. So you just sort of stay on this team, and now 3 in a row, likely to be 4 tonight. You look at it, Marty Jones. There's no goalie's name, but it could be Marty Jones tonight, and likely will be. And he's allowed 9 goals in his last 2 games, both losses, obviously, to Boston and Dallas. The other thing with this Philly team is they're not a team that does well in back-to-backs going back to last year. They started last year in back-to-backs, beginning of the season, where I think back-to-backs are a lot easier because the grind hasn't set in yet. And they won their first 3 back-to-backs. How have they done since? They're 9 games, 1-8 in the second of a back-to-back. I just don't see how you can take Philadelphia here in this spot. They didn't show enough life for me yesterday to think that they're going to beat this Panthers team. I think you take the puck line here and the plus money. Florida puck line right now, you can get at -1.5. It's at plus 115 in some spots, but that plus money is going to be gone, I think, by game time. So if you like the puck line, you take it now with the Panthers. Those are my thoughts on this game, Brian.
Yeah, I can't disagree at all. Philadelphia is a team I faded a lot last year, looking to fade this year. They've got an 8-6-3 record, but when you take a look at the natural stat trick, they're only gaining 46.34% of the expected shots. They're ranked 28th, but yet they've only been outscored 30-29, 5-on-5. There's a little bit negative regression coming for Philadelphia. The problem is, do you really want to lay this big number with Florida? Florida is a team as good as they have been. They've been playing a little bit over their head. The goals plus or minus per 65-on-5 is 1.59, leading the league. But when you look at the expected goals, they should be at basically 0.55, which is still really good, just not as good as what they've done. And you'll see, it's a small sample size. You'll see as the season goes on, these teams will get closer when it comes to the median and the mean. So Florida's playing very well, but they're playing a little bit over their head, and that's what makes this line a little bit too high for me to get involved with. Don't want to play the Flyers. Maybe as the day goes on, we'll be able to find some other way to play Florida, maybe a period play or as Kevin talked about the other day, that 1-3. I like that kind of thing. So maybe that's another way to get Florida without having to lay this huge price here.
It's hard to argue that, just like you said, Brian. And I love those first to three wagers. We do prop it up every Friday right here on WagerTalk TV, talking football mainly, other sports as well. And it's always interesting that, we bring up some of those unique props like that first to three and all that different type of stuff on Prop It Up. And the more betting advances, the more you can find interesting wagers just like that one. Guys, one thing about this Philadelphia team that we can't ignore, it's not a good spot for them right now, but it has definitely not been a good schedule for them recently. So we can at least give them that. They haven't really been playing any easy teams. They haven't lost to any teams that should be a really strong win for them by any means. They have played this Florida team recently, Tampa, Boston, Calgary. So they have been playing some tough teams, and now they get put in a really tough situation to try and, bounce back on a second half of a back-to-back. And I don't think it's a good spot to do it either. So I'm right there with you guys in this one. We have the New York Islanders, and they are in action again here at home. They have been struggling. The Rangers are in town. This is obviously a big rivalry game. Islanders are plus 105 at home. Rangers minus 125 on the highway. 5.5 is the total here, guys. And I'll just start with this. I'm going to throw it to Carmine first. Usually I like to go Carmine guest, then back to Carmine again. I'm going to throw it to Carmine just because we've been discussing this Islanders team ad nauseum. And Carm, remember when this team used to be an automatic under, when they were such a great defensive team? And mix in that road trip, mix in COVID protocol, and then mix in having several key defensemen out for them. All of a sudden here at home, I don't take this to be an under game at all. I'm on the over.
Yeah, no, and I can't blame you. The problem is when you're missing players, at this level of play, and you're missing guys off, one guy off your top D line, and then another guy off your second line. When you're shuffling lines, these are guys who don't normally play with each other. This, you do it in the morning skates and practice. But I'm telling you, it just mixes the balance of how teams play, and we see how they suffer with this. You look at this, going back to this Islanders one, and we discussed on Monday. I waited for the overnights to come out on Monday night because I was looking at playing the Islanders in this one if their players came off that COVID protocol list, and they didn't. It actually got worse. They've now added Chara to that list. The list contains Chara, Josh Bailey, Anders Lee, Kiefer Bellows, Ross Johnson, Adam Pelech, Andy Green, and now you have their leading scorer, Brock Nelson, 9 goals, 2 assists thus far through the 15 games. He's out for 2 to 4 weeks with an injury. This is a team, that line went from 135 Monday night on the Islanders to now a 60-cent swing where the Rangers are favored in this game. That's got to tell you something. So many guys out. And here's the thing is, and I talked to Brian about this before we went to air, 7 guys out, and you have Lou Lamoriello wondering, when does a game get canceled? The Ottawa Senators had 3 games canceled because of players on the COVID list. There was 10 players on that team, and Brian mentioned 8 players on San Jose out with COVID, but they still had to play their scheduled games. I don't get the NHL sometimes. Last year they canceled 50-plus games. This puts the Islanders in a bad spot. And while I don't want to touch the sides, if I was leaning to a side, and this kind of ended up on my cutting room floor, is the New York Rangers tonight. I just think the problems with the Islanders are because of the COVID thing, and it just puts them behind the 8 ball. They're going to get better, but they got to get healthy. They got to get guys back into the lineup. I think you can only go one way here, and that's the Rangers here. Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I wanted to play the Islanders here, but as you mentioned, so many players are out. They're a team that's due for some positive regression. They've actually got a pretty decent team. Everybody's writing them off, but it's because of the injuries and the COVID. And in the last couple of years, that's something we have to take into consideration, is how many teams are playing with just a percentage of their quality players. We're going to talk about that when we get to the Vegas game. But the Islanders are a team, I can't play them tonight just because they just don't have enough players on the ice. But this is a team that is due some positive regression, and they're also going to be getting healthy eventually. And people are just going to look at the records, and people that don't follow hockey, they're just casual fans. And we're going to find some value on playing the Islanders. It's no doubt about it. A lot of people look at goals scored, goals against, and all that, but they don't realize that a lot of these teams just have not been their complete selves this year. So the Islanders are going to be a bet on team for me, but we just need to find out who's going to play and get them back in the lineup. And I think we'll see some bargains out there.
Well, guys, I think that you look at injuries sometimes, and we might, try and use that theory where, the supporting cast will have their back and kind of step up. You see it all the time. NFL, NBA, of course, in the NHL as well. Starting quarterbacks down, the price moves, the number moves. All of a sudden, everybody's on the other team, and that team with the backup QB covers, if not wins. And the reason why I bring that up is because I use that in the NHL as well. A lot of times you see a star player out and the team supports them and they end up putting forward a good effort. But just like Carm mentioned, that this is just too many players. This line move is justified. This is just too many players that are out for this team. Too many key guys, defensive guys, goal scorers. It's just too many players that are out for this team. So, a lot of times I try and make a case for the team that's missing a few guys to say, hey, let's try and bet on the team that we're getting better odds with now and see if they can, get their win at home. But in this spot, I can. And just like Brian said, I kind of wanted to look for the Islanders, but I simply can't do it here. I would go towards the Rangers, but in the hope that we do start seeing some offense from the Islanders, and I think we will. Because I think they have great coaching and they still do have some talent on that team. I'm going to stick with the over because I just don't trust their defensive core right now. And I think the Rangers can kind of string them into a fast-paced game. I'll go to you, Brian, to start things out this time for us with the Maple Leafs and the Los Angeles Kings. This is a Maple Leafs team we've talked about on this show that have, seemingly turned into an under team, which it makes me feel like we are in an alternative universe saying that sentence there. But they are minus 170 on the road. The Kings are plus 145. Home favorites or home dogs. And the total's 5.5. Every game for the past 3 to 4 years for the Leafs was a 6 or a 6.5 as the total. Now 5.5 is the norm here, Brian.
Yes, it is, and it's a different way they're playing. I think a few teams, depending on their personnel every year, surprise you based on the way they play the games and approach the games. And Toronto's a team I'm looking to bet on right now. I think they're a little bit undervalued. If you take a look at the natural stat trick expected goals percentage, they're at 56.02. They've been dominating the ice. 5-on-5 play number 1 in the NHL, but yet they've been outscored 34-32. There's some regression coming there. The Kings, a team that I like, I think we usually find some value in. They rank 21st in expected goal percentage at 48.93, and yet they've outscored the opposition 32-26. So we've got, from a regression standpoint, we've got two teams going in the opposite direction. And when you take a look at the evolving hockey stats, you see that the Maple Leafs on the season in expected goals or actual goals plus or minus per 65 on 5, they're actually down 0.15 as I mentioned earlier, and the Kings are up 0.36. But the advanced stats show the Kings are a little bit lucky, and Toronto is a team that has some major regression coming their way, 0.52 expected goals per 60 on 5-on-5, and they're just below 500 on the season. So another thing I want to take a look at is when you see the better teams get knocked off, a lot of times it has something to do with the schedule. But if you take a look at Toronto's schedule and the Kings, both of them have been very favorable schedules coming into this game. So the scheduling, I don't think is going to have any opinion on this game. It's not going to make much of a difference. So with the regressions going both ways, pointing to Toronto, and Toronto, a team that, as much as I hate to say it, since Perez is a huge Toronto fan, this is a pretty good team. And the line is a little bit cheap in my regards compared to the Florida game that we talked about earlier. So give me Toronto. Toronto's going to be one of the teams on my card for today.
Carm?
Yeah, no, I have to echo his thoughts exactly. You look at this one. I'm leaning Toronto in this game. I mean, I wanted to say, the funny thing is, and we talked about this pre-show. That I would look at this as a rapid revenge spot for the Leafs after getting knocked off by the Kings during that Kings winning streak where they hit Toronto, beat them on a Monday night. I think it was 5-1. Jack Campbell played his worst game, probably in a Leafs uniform in that game, but has been great ever since. And but the Kings were playing well at the time. Now the Kings have hit a bit of regression. You lose that first game. I've mentioned it before. After a long win streak, they had 7 games. I faded them at the end of that streak in Winnipeg. They lost that, and they've lost 3 others since then. Sometimes that happens with teams. Look at this Toronto team; they're playing well. They followed up that loss to Pittsburgh on the weekend, the one that killed my 11-game streak, by going to New York and beating the Islanders 3-0, and now they head to the West Coast. It should be Campbell in net tonight. They really should start Campbell. Let's not screw this one up. Start Campbell in net tonight, and I think the Leafs get the win. They're playing some very good defense right now. That game against Pittsburgh wasn't a bad one. They lost 2-0 to a Pittsburgh team that is playing some very good hockey right now. With Crosby coming back, the team getting healthy, and Malkin back soon. So you just sort of throw that one out the window and say this team is playing some very good hockey right now. You can play this a few different ways. I would look at the Leafs in regulation time at even money. Take the Leafs if you don't mind laying that 165-ish, which I don't think is a bad number here. You can even take the Leafs puck line if you choose to do so. I'm leaning one way and one way only in this game, and that's Toronto. If they throw in a dud tonight, I'm going to be pretty pissed off. But I think Toronto's the right play here.
All right, Toronto. Toronto from both Bryan and Carmine. Look, guys, there's one player playing in this game we didn't mention quite yet. He is kind of an enemy to Austin Matthews, I would say. And that is Phillip Danault. He is the shutdown man. He's the forward. As a Montreal Canadiens fan, Carm, I have to bring him up. He is the one that got moved or moved from Montreal to LA. Somebody that not many people would give credit for all of his stuff he does last year until the playoffs. Then it became recognized that he shuts down top players. He shuts down Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Nikolai Ehlers, Kyle Connor, Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty. I like the under here, guys. I think that the game plan we saw the last time around, even though it was a bad spot for the Leafs, we saw this team in the Kings figure out who all the scorers are on the Leafs and force everybody else to get the job done and try and score some goals. And that's what other teams have to try and do. Because I've mentioned this time and time again, I don't have the updated numbers, Carm. I was following it for several days, but if you look at the numbers, it's low-scoring games for them, but it's still the big four doing a bulk of that scoring for the Maple Leafs. And low-scoring games is what you want in the playoffs. But I don't think they still want just a few guys doing all their scoring, because once you get those key guys off the score sheet for a couple nights, then you know what happens. Last night, Connor McDavid breaks his massive point streak. If he ends up ever going 2 or 3 games without a point, curious to see how that team looks as well. So I'm on the under. I feel like it's a tight checking game here. And I'm not going to buy in as much to that flat spot for the Kings. I think the Kings still just played a really good game. And it wasn't just a flat spot for the Leafs.
No, Andrew, I don't blame you at all. You look at the Kings, let's say their last 10 games, 8 of those 10 games have gone under the total. There's some low-scoring games. Sure, one of them was the Toronto game. Actually, I think that was a push. The total there was 6, and that was a 5-1 final. So they're like 8-1-1 to the under their last 10 games, and now it's a Toronto team who's playing some very good defense. So I can't blame you for wanting to take the under there. To your point of players, shut down players. I think about, and this is showing my age, but I think about guys that got under your skin, and he's one of them. But you got guys like Kenny the Rat Linsman. If you remember him, Andrew, you may have been a very young kid at the time that Linsman was around, but he was just one of those guys that hounded you up and down the ice, got under your skin, and players hated him. But he did his job for the Flyers.
Well, it's amazing. I talked about this with the Vegas Golden Knights like on our show last week. Sometimes even though you have an F next to your name and you're a forward, it doesn't mean you're just out there scoring goals. Forwards can still be defensive players as well. They're just not on the back line. And, he scores some goals, but Deneau and some of those guys are just out there to be shutdown players. So that's what I'll really say about them. Obviously, some more hockey talk to get to. Best bets coming up at the end, but I do want to go around the horn. Brian, we obviously have your big 5% play in action tonight, but it's the middle of the week. I think you and I are very similar. You mentioned it last week on the show. This is kind of the day where we start to get everything ready, prepare for the weekend, put some finishing touches on some write-ups and that kind of stuff. What do you have up right now for some clients?
Yeah, you mentioned it. Today's a big day. In addition to the 5% in the NHL, which I have up now, I also have a 4% I'll be using. A couple of college basketball I'll be putting up in just a little bit. It's 8 o'clock in Pacific out here on the West Coast, so it's a little early to get all my stuff up. But yeah, just for today, a big card, and then we got the football coming up. And yeah, once again, we'll mention that great deal for the week. I mean, got to take advantage of that, whether it's me or either of you or any of the handicappers. Great day to do it. But I do have a bone to pick, by the way, with you, Andrew. You're a proud Canadian. You're a proud Montreal fan. And with all the great Canadian beers, you're drinking out of a Corona cup. What's the deal with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I might as well show it. I might as well show it if you're going to bring it up. Yeah, this is just some water. I am not drinking on the show. I'm not drinking at 12:27 local time here in the Far East Coast. Trust me, there is no alcohol in there. It's just a cup. I just use it as a.
You need to support your Canadian beers. Go get another cup.
At least thank Buster for sending that up to you. I'm pretty sure that's got to be from Buster in Mexico. I got that crazy backdrop from him, and you get a Corona mug to drink your coffee out of. That's awesome. Thanks, Buster.
It's massive, man. It's massive. It lasts me a long time. So I do have one of those swell bottles, those ones to keep the drinks cold. But I swear those bottles that everybody loves to use, they're not that big. Look at the size of this, Brian. You know what I mean? You get thirsty talking so much, I got to keep hydrated here. I didn't know where you were going to go with that, Brian. I had no idea where you were going to go with that.
Here's the young guy bragging about his size. Can you see that shit? Come on now.
Yeah.
Not the first time, not the last. Not the first time, not the last.
I can listen. I can understand. Andrew's a Canadians fan, so I can understand him drinking this early in the morning. So it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, maybe it'd be some Baileys in the coffee or something. Brian, are you playing some beer pong or something? Is that a red Solo cup out of you?
I'm just a poor American, man. I don't have these fancy cups like the Canadian.
I got this at a party store like 4 years ago. All right. Well, yesterday, Carm, I was getting after Buster for not giving me his big golf winners, and then yesterday, of course, I don't reach out to you to see what your big soccer play was, and it's a 4-0 winner. So I'll ask again today, what do you have up for clients, and what should I privately message you about to try and get some winners?
Yeah, three Champions League games that go today. First one kicks off, I think, at 12:45. A couple plays up in NHL. Just as another addition, if you guys have bought my $2 Tuesday play, check the analysis section about 30 minutes time. In the analysis section, under the play, there will be something called the cutting room floor. I'm going to list 3 or 4 plays that may or may not make my card today, but games that I do like for today, and I'll just put them in there. Treat them as like 1% plays. If they actually do make my card has 3 or 4% plays, so be it. But treat them as like 1% plays. Sometimes it's good to know what a capper was looking at to see if you actually agree with it or not, and just to get an idea where my thought process is on today's big slate of cards. Because there's some good cards, and one of them will be my show best bet today, which is an actual client play. So just hang tight for that to come up shortly.
Great stuff, Carm. For me, lots of football stuff usually goes up today on Wednesday. CFL playoffs start this weekend. I'm involved in both games. Those packages will be up today, and one of them is a 5% play. Looking forward to the weekend. Of course, college football, you got NFL. Don't forget about that Canadian football north of the border here, Brian. We still got some CFL going. I hope you at least can find it on your TV a little bit, get some coverage in America with the CFL. With the playoffs are starting with the CFL, I do have a big play coming out in the CFL playoffs. And, of course, don't miss that $2 play. Obviously, it was called $2 Tuesday, but I guess it's $4 Wednesday for Carmine and I, both of our plays. If you're a Canadian, grab 2 toonies, go turn them into the bank and buy that at WagerTalk.com. If you're American, look up what a toonie is. You'll figure it out. Let's move on. Let's keep the show on the road here. Our last game, Nashville Predators and Las Vegas Golden Knights. Nashville minus 120, Vegas plus 100 here. Brian, I'm going to go to you because I talked about the Anaheim Ducks, and that was a play I used a couple days ago on the show. And I was disappointed because I was on a huge win streak here and having great success with these best bets. And I didn't like the way the Ducks were starting to look in that game against Nashville. But a lot of the numbers say that they still put forward a good effort. Nashville had a bounce back performance after giving up a lot of goals to the Montreal Canadiens. Now, Vegas plus 100 here. What do you think about these odds? Because I'll tell you, I think that Nashville still is a sloppy team. And against teams with countless guys that can finish, despite even still just a couple injuries for Vegas, I don't really get this price here.
I don't get it from the opposite direction, actually. I've gone to 2 Vegas games in the last week. Season ticket holder Marco and I split. And it's the first time I've been able to go because of my schedule this year. And it's clear that so many new faces are in that lineup for Vegas that you don't notice it on television, but when you go to a game and you can see the play develop, the timing just isn't there. And that's the concern with Vegas. And I'm kicking myself after they took that 2-0 lead over St. Louis the other day, why I didn't bet St. Louis on, in game, because there was plenty of time left and St. Louis ends up scoring 3 more goals at that period. So, it's a situation for me where I'm looking to fade Vegas. The coaching staff has done a tremendous job to have this record. What are they, 11-8, something like that, on the season thus far, based on the players they've had in the lineup. I mean, I've gone through that lineup, and half of the guys on the team right now were not expected to be here this year, especially this early. And so Vegas right now is a team I'm looking to fade. They did get Theodore back last game. But White Cloud, who came back, is a major factor defensively, and then he got hurt. So they continue to struggle with that. There's rumors that Pacioretty will be coming back. Even if he does come back, this is something I use in all sports, it takes time to get back into that routine of being able to play the timing and all with all your fellow teammates. He's been out for such a long time. Usually your first game back, and you see this a lot in the NBA, a star player comes back for the first game, and then they struggle. I expect that out of Vegas tonight. I'm not a huge Nashville fan, but I wanted to play I wanted to play St. Louis against Vegas the other day, and the line opened 150. I thought that line was a little bit too high, couldn't play it. But this line where we're at right now in the 120 range is enough to get me to fade Vegas. There's just too many guys in and out of the lineup. They just can't get any continuity right now. Are they the better team? Yes, they are the better team. They're the better team when they're fully healthy. Vegas right now, for what they have done, is just a tremendous job for the coaching staff. I just don't think it's going to last when they go on the road. We saw it against St. Louis. I think we see it again here. Give me Nashville in this game.
All right, Nashville Predators for Brian. Brian, I got to ask you, I know you're not really a totals guy, but if you were to play one today, where would you end up here in this game?
I would look at the under, I guess. The only problem is when you take a look at 5-on-5 goals per game, Vegas is the worst. 3.18, I believe, is per 60 minutes. Leonard didn't play a very good game the other day. He's been good all season, other than the first week or so he struggled. But the goalie's been good. But the defense right now, Martinez has been banged up. A lot of these defensive guys have been banged up. And when you're as short player-wise as the Knights are right now, and I kind of saw this on the ice in person the other day, players just aren't making that effort that they normally make when they're fully staffed on defense, trying to block those shots because there's always somebody behind them. Well, now there's nobody behind them other than minor league players. So it makes it tougher to play an under in that regard because you're just not going to get the full effort because the team cannot afford these guys to get hurt. That's the only concern I have about playing the under.
All right. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot either, Brian. I just genuinely was curious, and I like the information that you provide. So I think that's where I would go as well in this game. Carm, what are your thoughts here, man?
Yeah, no, Brian, he actually did mean to put you on the spot there, but that's just Andrew. We love him. But I agree with you, Brian. Listen, with the players out for this Vegas team, it's been a real tough stretch of games. You've got guys that normally aren't there, and they've been playing lights out hockey. They've been putting up wins, sort of that next man up mentality. But at some point, that regression kicks in, and they played. I watched that St. Louis game, and they came out of the gates, and they looked great for the first 7-8 minutes, and then St. Louis took over, and St. Louis just dominated that game for the last 50 minutes of that game. And you just wonder, was that the start of the regression for the Vegas Golden Knights? Now they're going to Nashville, where the Preds have won 5 of their last 6 games at home. The line's where it should be. The Preds should be favored here. It should be a small favorite. And this is why I'm leaning to taking them. I'm going to take them here in this spot. I don't even know if we never find out who the Vegas goalie is early enough, but while it should be Leonard, I suspect that it might not be. A weird scheduling quirk for this team that they go from Nashville up to Edmonton to face the Oilers, and then, they go back. I think they back home to face the Oilers, and then head on a road trip again, even though it's a West Coast type trip. So it's a little weird one here. I'm just wondering if they give Leonard the night off tonight, give him some rest, put him into that Oilers game instead at home, and then sort of fit him in and give him a night off maybe against the Arizona Coyotes, who they also play on that road trip. So we'll have to see what happens there. I would love if Leonard's not in there tonight. I'll speculate, still take the Preds at -120 here. I think that's the play tonight.
All right. Well, I've been proven to be really wrong. I say to Brian, I don't think this price is the way it is. And confidently, both Brian and Carm say, yeah, it is. It's exactly where it should be, if not higher. So Nashville Predators for Carm and Brian. I'm looking towards the under in this game, seeing a defensive game, hopefully, between these two teams. Let's jump into some best bets. Let's get right into it, and we will start with Brian, your show best bet, and any more promotions you do have. Just a reminder to everybody out there, 14-3, not just a run, not just a couple weeks, lifetime 5% NHL plays for you, Brian. Good luck tonight, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah, hockey's been really good to me since I started handicapping it 5 years ago, and it's turned into my best sport, and who would have thought that? We just talked about what I'm going to use for my best bet, and that's fading the the Golden Knights here in Vegas. And normally, when you look at Vegas, when you take a look at expected goals 5-on-5, they're among the leaders. Every year they've been among the leaders. Right now, they rank 25th, and yet they are scored 44 goals and given up 44. So they've been fortunate in that regard. They're just not getting in the opponent's territory enough, and a lot of that is because they've got so many strange guys on the ice that haven't played together. And you can have all-star teams that don't play together, and they struggle a little bit less than their expectations. So for Vegas to do what they've done so far has been a nice surprise. Being a Vegas fan, I'm happy about it, but I really can't put my money on them tonight. If Pacioretty is announced that he is going to play, the line will go down even farther. In fact, Vegas may end up being a favorite. That may end up being better for us if you want to play Nashville, because it is the first game back, and he still has not put in a lot of practice time with these teammates. So no need to hurry out and bet on against the Knights here with Nashville. We may actually get even a better number later on.
All right, Brian saying be patient, wait for a better number, and then fire when you see it. Carmine, 14 games today on the NHL board. One best bet for you, though, on the show. Let's hear it.
Yeah, just before I get to that best bet, a quick thought on the Seattle Kraken game tonight. A couple of guys are going to the game. I want to take the over. I think the over is the play there. The total's at 5.5. 13 of the 15 games, last 15 games played by Seattle have gone over that number of 5.5. Only two games have produced less than 6 goals. So Carolina coming off a loss, a team that can score some goals. We'll probably see a bunch of them tonight. So over 5.5 there. My best bet on the show is going to be the Boston Bruins in regulation time against the Buffalo Sabres. That's -140, that line. It should be Allmark in net tonight. I think just a little while ago that was confirmed. He was first one off the ice. Former Sabres goalie. In his first start against the Sabres this year in Buffalo, he beat them 4-1. Let's look for the Bruins and, of course, the Buffalo Sabres regression to continue. So give me the Bruins in regulation time -140 as the show best bet.
All right, Bruins in regulation time. I'll take no time. I'll try and be quick here. We already discussed this game. I am looking at the over between the Rangers and the Islanders. Islanders still looking for their first win at their new arena after their massive 13-game road trip to open up their season. I'm going to stay away from the side and just hope for some goals in this game, and I think we will get some. I feel like we'll see some supporting guys step up for the Islanders tonight, find the back of the net, but I don't trust their defense right now. Too many defensive guys out, some key players out, and it has really shown on the ice for them. And the Rangers, they've got talent up front with Panarin, with Kreider, so many guys out there that can do damage. Give me the over. Islanders and Rangers. Carmine, Boston in regulation, and Bryan with Nashville -120. Best of luck, guys. Thank you so much for watching as usual. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys out there watching this show in United States, and we'll see you guys on Friday's show.
A Black Friday quiz, which is better? 1, paying $349 for a 1-month all access, or 2, paying $244.30 for 1 month all access. The day after Thanksgiving, we want to continue giving thanks by giving all of our customers 30% off anything priced at $149 or more. A Black Friday sale was always a once-a-year chance to buy something at big discount, and this is it. Even better, we are running this promotion Black Friday through the end of Cyber Monday and making coupon code THANKS30 have unlimited uses. Whether it's a single sport package, a 30-day all access, a full season of college hoops, or a full 12 months from your favorite handicapper, you will save 30% with coupon THANKS30. You can fill your goodie bag as many times as you want until the clock strikes midnight on Monday.